Welcome to Talkin' Waukesha, the podcast where every conversation springs to life.
I'm Andrew Nofke.
And I'm Anthony Terrell.
And we're your hosts for today's journey into the heart of Waukesha.
Whether you're a local or just passing through, join us as we explore the stories, people, and hidden gems that make Waukesha truly special.
From community events to personal anecdotes, we're here to bring you the pulse of our vibrant town.
So grab your favorite beverage, sit back, and let's dive into another episode of Talkin' Waukesha,
where every conversation springs to life. We are here today with Paul Farrow, the Waukesha County Executive. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
No complaints. It's a lovely day out. We're going to talk with Paul for a little while here about what the role of the county executive is, kind of how his job works with the county, how the county works with the city, and kind of dive into that. So first question we have is, what is the county executive, and what kind of does your typical day look like?
Let's get it right out of the...
Yeah, that's a really good question, right? Hey, what do you actually do for a living? So I like to describe the county executive's position is twofold. One, I am the highest elected official in Waukesha County. So I am, every 4 years, I'm up for election. And I run, it's a nonpartisan office. And so I'm beholden to 410,000 people that call Waukesha County home. The second half of it is I'm the CEO of Waukesha County that runs a organization. It's got about a $320 million operating budget, including capital projects and things like that. It's about $400 million. And then I have a staff of about 1,500 employees. And so my responsibility is to ensure that they are doing their job on behalf of the citizens of Waukesha County. We're being good fiscal stewards of every tax dollar that we get. But also, especially for the employees, providing an opportunity for professional development, a good culture to work in, and continue to grow. And so we work to balance those two different things. My staff likes to joke that I have an office, but then I also have an office, which is my car, because I'm going out to different events and talking to different people. So it keeps me moving all the time.
Sounds fun. And then how does your role kind of interact with the surrounding counties, I guess, as well?
Yeah, so we've got, in Wisconsin, 72 counties. There are 12 county executives. And so it's interesting, in southeastern Wisconsin, we have Kenosha, Racine, Milwaukee, Washington, and Waukesha. So 5 of the 12 are kind of stuck right in this area. But I'm not only working with county executives. I think about Jefferson County, Walworth County, Ozaukee County. We work with the administrators and the county boards there. We look, especially in southeastern Wisconsin, we're one of probably the most important economic area for Wisconsin. And so our hope is to really partner with our member counties and our partners here to get people to realize workforce is very movable. And so the goal for me to always tell people is City of Milwaukee County are, yes, the largest that we have, but a lot of our workforce is from Waukesha County, and vice versa. There's a number of people that in Milwaukee that come out to Waukesha. So it's a very transient workforce, but it still settles in this region.
Right.
And so if we can keep the people here and the businesses here, we're going to be profitable for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I've come to school. I think this is now the second one that we're all Carroll graduates at some point. So we've all come to Waukesha for school here. And, I live in Milwaukee County and commute here because it's an easy commute. It's a great community, great county. So, I've been thrilled working here for 3 years so far. And, hope to make it more.
You think about it, and I love the story when you think back to 2015, 2016, as we were building Pfizer Forum. And the negotiations are going through the legislature on should we help fund it? What should we do? I remember at the time, the president of the Bucks, Peter Fagan, came out to an event here in Waukesha, and he kind of jokingly said, I don't know what the problem is, you guys. It's only 20 minutes for me to get out here. It's not like we're driving 3 days to get to an event. And I think that's the uniqueness that people, when they get here, realize that we have a city of a first class. We have a lot of first class opportunities, not only in sports, but in the arts and everything else that is extremely close by.
Right.
So when I think about Waukesha County, my wife and I have season tickets to the Broadway shows down in Milwaukee. I'll be going down to Milwaukee and staying in one of the wonderful hotels next week for an event we'll probably talk about.
We certainly will be.
But it is. I think there's a lot of attraction. We went down to Summerfest. So you look at what we have so close by. And then I talk to people that I know from Milwaukee who have bought residences out here in Lake Country. And they said, it's amazing. I love the fast-paced energy of Milwaukee, but I also love it when I get home and I can just sit back and relax.
100%, yeah.
And just kind of take a deep breath in and enjoy the lake life that's out here.
Yeah, I think that's really a huge draw for Waukesha County as a whole. It's both rural, suburban, and then there's still plenty to do. There's tons to do in Waukesha even. So if you don't want to have to go to Milwaukee, you can still come to any of the communities around here and still find plenty of nightlife and activities and cultural events, things like that.
I walk downtown Waukesha on Friday Night Live. And you just see the amazing energy and the vibe that you get. For me, I love getting out in the communities and have meetings. I don't know how many times I'm either at the Steaming Cup or People's Park or some of the other cafes that are downtown that those are my meeting spots. And it's great to engage, going out to the other communities. If I stay in Waukesha only, though we're here on the podcast, I'm going to get in trouble with 36 other county communities. But, you get out to Oconomowoc and Mukwonago and Muskego and the Falls. There are neat little pockets all around.
Definitely.
And I think it's a lot of energy that we have throughout the communities that makes this a great place.
100%.
Yeah. So, we've kind of started to touch on it a little bit, but we are, even for this Talkin' Waukesha podcast, we're kind of breaking our mold a little bit and not having a full city employee. We're now reaching out to the CEO of the county, basically. But one of the big reasons we wanted to do that, because what we brought up briefly was the RNC that is coming up, the Republican National Convention. It's coming to Milwaukee later this month. So kind of want to know, what impact will that have on Waukesha County from an economic and a service standpoint?
It's going to be interesting, and I think there's so much that's unknown about the convention. When I think back, I have a unique situation in which, yes, my office is nonpartisan, but as most people know, my background is Republican. In 22, I was the state chairman of the Republican Party. We helped bring the convention here. And talking with the site selection committee, getting them to realize and I always kind of go back to that energy, that vibe that the city of Milwaukee can bring and what the region can bring was really important to us. So I know as I talk with individuals that are still engaged with the development of the convention, I think we've got a dozen of the delegations are staying in hotels in Waukesha County. So we're going to see a direct impact there. Talking with some of the restaurants, we were hoping to see more. There still could be some that comes out, but I know a number of venues have parties for some of the delegations that are staying close by. Brookfield's seen a number of individuals in events that are out there. And so I think we're going to see some economic impacts, probably not as much as we were hoping because just of the change in fluidity of what the delegations are doing. But then on the other side of it, there are businesses, in the paper today in the Freeman. Wildeck is talking about what they're providing for the convention on the convention floor. I know of construction companies that are part of the build-out for what's going on. We have security companies that are in Waukesha County that are providing private security for different events that are down there. Then I look at kind of the other side of it. When I look at service, I know that City of Waukesha Police, many of the police departments, our sheriff's deputies, there's going to be a lot of law enforcement presence from the communities. Our emergency operations teams, both in the city, the county, and this region, are all engaged to help out and assist if anything's going to happen. So there's a lot of coordination, I think, that goes behind the scenes. Nobody's really ever going to see. And then I kind of joke about it. We have to stop doing road construction. I know that's going to be hard for people to realize, but we're asked by the Secret Service that during the convention, no major work is going to be done on the 94 thruway. No major work is going to be done on 16 so we can keep traffic flowing. And I think for me, it's one of those catch-22s. I don't want to see any more orange cones, but it's going to be nice not having to finagle through everything and get through it. So I think that there's going to be those subtle impacts that'll be out there. It'll be interesting to see, we'll say 2 months after the convention, when we start looking at September, October, as companies are able to see what they were able to bill, what it's going to be, and what the impact is. I think we're going to have an opportunity to kind of do a postpartum on it and see how it really impacted the county and see how it worked from there.
Sure. Okay.
And if once that information's out there, where would be the best place that people would be able to find that, or what's the best resource, I guess, for people to find out more about county news like that?
Yeah, so we have a website that we're actually redeveloping right now. But I do a monthly newsletter that we send out. We'll probably put information in that. If anybody's got any questions about that, they can just reach out to the WaukeshaCounty.gov website, look for the county exec page, and sign up for the newsletter. It's a great way to get information of what's happening through the county, but also in some of the municipalities and what we're doing.
So I guess with the RNC coming in, what has the county done to encourage visitors, delegates, whatever, to go outside their hotel and kind of get out and about in the area and the region?
Yeah, we've worked with some of the chambers in the area to get information out. We've provided information to the RNC on areas of attraction, what to do. I think the interesting part about it too is because of timing, the Waukesha County Fair wasn't able to adjust its schedule, and it falls right in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so we have kind of let people know that if you're sticking around, come out to the fair Friday night, have some fun. So I think it'll be a great opportunity for people to see what really happens in kind of Waukesha County and how we embrace the summer life and have some fun at the fair as well.
Yeah, sounds actually a perfect combo of like, okay, you spend a week, focusing really hard on the political side of things, come out, have some fun, but you can fly out in the morning. There'll be less traffic on Saturday morning, a little bit nicer. And honestly, I love flying out of Mitchell. If it's nicer than O'Hare, honestly.
I totally agree with you.
I've flown out of O'Hare quite a few times, and it's so much nicer. You can just show up, 2 hours before your flight, get through TSA quick. Don't have to go on any trams, trolleys, or anything to get around.
Yeah, right.
This is true.
So not anything that's relatively recent, but in the past, Waukesha County declared fentanyl as a community health crisis back in August of 22. So we're wondering how have things changed since then? What sort of initiatives has the county taken part in to fight against the overdose deaths and protect the health, safety, and well-being of the community? I know fentanyl's been a real big problem nationwide, but I know you were kind of the driving force in this. So how are things going? I mean, we're almost at 2 years from now, so just looking for an update on that.
When you think about 2 years out, I think we're doing really well. There's a lot of good things that are happening. The first stat that I'll throw out is if you look back from 22 to 20 to now, I'll go back a little bit. 21, I think, is when we were actually recording some of the numbers. We've seen about a 35% decrease in fentanyl overdoses in Waukesha County. On top of that, Narcan, which is a medication that can reverse an overdose due to an opioid, is something that we've been focused on since 2017. We now have administered or sent out to the community after people go through the training over 10,000 Narcan kits. The way you think about Narcan and the kind of how I describe it is you have the AED, the electronic defibrillator, if somebody goes into cardiac arrest. Narcan is that same type of aid to an individual. So if you see someone who's down, they're not breathing, non-responsive, you administer Narcan. If it's not opioid related, it has no effect on them whatsoever. But if it's opioid related, it can bring them back. It gives them a second chance at life, hopefully to start realizing that they need some help from others and can turn their life around. Since we started administering this program, we have over 300 recorded saves that we have through documentation from EMS, fire, and our dispatch showing that we've been able to get that reversal.
That's fantastic.
Now, those are documented, not the anecdotal. So we have other ones where family members have said, I was able to bring back my son, my husband, things like that have occurred. So I think we're in a good position.
Right.
When we look at what we're trying to do, the main thing was trying to educate people on, one, the use of Narcan, and two, the understanding that the opioid addiction not only affects the person, but it affects the people around them.
Right.
And what kind of resources can we bring to that to help individuals out? We have a great website, again, out on waukeshacounty.gov. It's got a page that will show you what we're doing for the opioid response. We have heat maps that show kind of the intensities where we're seeing more over the overdoses. And so it's kind of been an eye-opener for some people. They're like, this doesn't happen in my backyard. Well, actually it is. And so I think we've had some good response there. The stories that I have heard from people is just, it's saddening at times when you think about family members, and especially with the fentanyl. This is a drug that 2 or 3 little grains of it is enough to kill someone. And the Drug Enforcement Administration started out a program called One Pill Can Kill that we've adopted, and it's some of the advertising that we use. And the reason they do it is, especially in that 18 to 28 age category, individuals can take one pill, and that's it. They've never done anything before. They take this one pill, and it kills them. And I've had stories of, again, tragic stories where kids are at college, and we've all been there. You're cramming for exams, you're studying. Yeah, for me, it was no dose, just pounding caffeine tablets to stay awake, to keep going. But kids get hold of Adderall or get hold of another medication that they think is going to help them stay focused and keep moving that was laced with fentanyl. And it was the one pill that ended it for them. So our goal is to constantly push to get the information out, to tell people what's going on. We'll continue to do that. The last area that we're looking at, and we have been working on, are the online pharmacies. And it's an area that's kind of a gray area, because more and more we're seeing where you can do stuff online. Well, companies, organizations, entities are setting up these false pharmacies. Looks completely legitimate. Everything looks like it's up and up. But they're cutting the medication with fentanyl or other things, and that's where we're starting to see some of the impact. So it's one of those where we're trying to figure out how we can work with law enforcement to help reduce that. Our sheriff's department has done a phenomenal job working within the region again, and working with the DEA and FBI to have some pretty successful busts that have taken us some fentanyl off. But the challenge we have right now, and I think our sheriff put it to us about a year ago, we were talking about it, the biggest influx of fentanyl is coming from the southern border. So when you think about the challenges that we have in Texas and in Nevada coming across the Mexican border, what's happening is happening here. And he says, Paul, I've talked to so many sheriffs across the country. Every single county is a border county when it comes to this because of the impact. We've got to try to reduce the flow there. What we do here, yes, can minimize it, but until we can stop the flow coming across the border, that's when we're going to see some significant changes in what's happening here.
And that's kind of one of the confusing things with fentanyl too, is if it's a weird analogy, but if you're a dealer and you're trying to sell to people and this kills people, you're killing your clients.
Yeah, right.
So fentanyl makes no sense in my mind whatsoever.
Yeah.
But kind of going back to the Narcan again, if people have or we're looking to get access to Narcan and go through this trainings, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
I'm going to say again, reach out to our website, waukeshacounty.gov. We've got trainings that are out there and information that's available. You can drop down through the Health and Human Services Division. And it's one where we're doing trainings. Any community organization that wants to set up a training, we're happy to do it. It's only about 20, 25 minutes to go through the process and how to utilize the Narcan device. It's a nasal spray, so it's not like you're having to do an injection or anything like that. As I've told people, if you can use Flonase to get rid of your allergies, you can use a Narcan device. And so we're willing to do it. We've partnered with a number of our organizations throughout the county that provide health and well-being care for individuals with addictions. We have some dispensers located in different areas throughout the county where individuals can go out and get the Narcan. The other one that we've partnered with a number of organizations, about 200 across the county, we have what's called Oak Kits that are out in public areas. It's an overdose action kit. It has Narcan. It has some other things in there to help people out, fentanyl test strips. And what our goal is to get the information out to people, get the devices out to people so they can help them. One of the interesting stories, we've got a couple of schools that have them. And one of the schools admitted that they were talking to the kids, and some of the kids said, look, I'm not getting this for me, but I have a parent, and I'm concerned that one day they may take something. So it affects the whole range of what's going on.
Right. Is there any cost associated with this program?
Nope. We're able to purchase and work with the state, so the state has a supply of Narcan, so we're able to work with them. Our goal is just to get the information out and administer out. The Oak Kits are free. We'll give it to you, show you how to utilize it, and set it up. One of the things that we just kicked off about a month ago is there's an app that you can get. It's called Pulse Point, and it's actually two different apps. One, Pulse Point is for individuals that know CPR. And so they can go on. I know the city of Waukesha has it now. It's in the entire area for Waukesha County is available. But the second half of the app is for businesses to go on and say, hey, we have an AED or we have a Narcan kit. That will then be sent out to the web. So if an individual goes down, again, non-breathing, non-responsive, if there's a Narcan kit in the area, you're going to be able to tap on your phone to see if there's something that you can help with. And I think those are going to be some great tools as we continue to move forward and get more companies to add this in, so that in the public world, if somebody goes down, you'd know right where to go to help get the aid that they need.
Right. That's great.
So are there then any other initiatives that the county is working on?
There's a lot of initiatives.
Yeah, sure.
It's amazing. It's never a day doesn't go by that we're not working on something. I think the other areas that we're really looking at right now is in the area of mental health, and again, trying to provide services. We started a program a couple years ago within our sheriff's department to put a social worker. So we embedded a social worker into the sheriff's department to help with those mental health related calls. Help to reduce the time the individual got service, but it also reduced the time that law enforcement was on a non kind of criminal situation where we could get them back on the streets. It was so effective that we partnered with the city of Waukesha, and that got to be so effective with their crew team that they created. We have a second social worker that's with the city of Waukesha. And so now we have technically 4 social workers, 2 with our sheriff's department. We have 1 at our dispatch who can get on a 911 call if someone's having a mental health situation and work with them. And we just signed a contract with the city of Brookfield, so we're doing the same thing there. I think those type of initiatives, trying to get the care that individuals need to them as quickly as possible, especially with these emergency situations where law enforcement's called out because nobody's sure what to do. A lot of times the individuals that are being called upon because of are known by the mental health people in the county. And so as soon as they see the name come up, they're like, oh yeah, we know this individual. They can reach out to law enforcement and say, hey, here's their situation. Here's how you want to start talking and dealing with them. We're on our way to get out there, so we're a known commodity to the person. It'll help alleviate the situation. We can get the care that they need right away. I think those type of initiatives are going to help us change how we respond, especially by law enforcement. Anecdotally, again, as I say that, a lot of law enforcement officers that I've talked to say, unfortunately, almost 50% of our calls are now mental health related. So if I can, instead of criminalizing the act, can help get the care right away, it's reducing a lot of pressures on our court system, on our jail, on our hospitals, on our law enforcement, and then on the other side, it's getting that care as quickly as we can to the individual. So I think that's one of the big things that we're doing. Part of that whole concept in mental health, we took our mental health hospital we had about 30 beds. We reduced the number of beds in the hospital side to 16. We took the wing that we didn't use now as a hospital and created a resiliency center. So what it is, it's a long-term care center where individuals that have gone through kind of the immediate, I'm not going to say detox, but changes to make themselves better. This gives them a setting for a little more long-term care. They're still under the eyes of professionals to make sure things are going well, but it's less kind of inhibitive. It gives them more options to really kind of get back and adjust into the community.
Yeah.
So I think it was a great opportunity. We're taking a resource where we typically had about 12 to 14 individuals in our mental health hospital. Now we're able to expand this level of services and scope of services there. Didn't change much other than the interior and some of the things we needed to do, but we're providing a new level of service in the county that wasn't there before. So I think those are kind of the major areas that we're working at. Yeah. Innovation-wise, still working on renovating our courthouse. That'll be a couple more years.
Yeah.
So I apologize for anybody that's got to come through. Yes, follow the blue dots, follow the yellow dots. And if you get lost, there's a guy in a video that's going to tell you where to go.
Would it happen to be you?
Would it? Yeah, it would.
So with the mental health hospital, if someone feels like they need that support, how do they kind of get involved in that situation? Do they need to reach out to non-emergency police, non-emergency sheriff, or can they just kind of self-admit themselves? Or
they can reach out to the clinic. Again, non-emergency situations, we are more than happy to help. There's numbers out there. And again, check out the website for them. We're here to help individuals wherever they're at to make sure they get the right level of service.
Perfect. So as you kind of mentioned earlier, you've worked in all sorts of levels of government within the state of Wisconsin. So what's been your favorite part of your career so far?
Wow.
So put you right on the spot.
Yeah. So when I think about it, my political side of life started in 2011 as a state assembly, and then went to the state senate in a special election before I came over here. I think it's interesting because the legislature, for me, people will joke, you're either, as we say, a retail politician where you like to go out and talk to the people and really engage, or you become a policy wonk. You love to get into the statutes and read through. I was one of those anomalies who loves both. Love being out in the communities and talking with people because that's where you get a lot of the information about what you're going to change. But then when it came to writing legislation, I always looked at the ripple effect. If I'm writing something, what are the things that it's going to impact that I'm not seeing? And so I really kind of enjoyed doing that. Then I look at 2015 when I became county executive and running this organization. For me, it was an opportunity to say, I've always looked at government as a response. Government should be a service, and we're a service industry. We should respond to our constituents. As the CEO, I get to make that change. And so in 2017, we instituted a customer service program. And we look at customer service very importantly. We track it. We ask for people's feedback and response. Our goal was to come up with kind of a customer service rating over the county of 4.5 out of 5 to show that we're really doing our due diligence. I'm happy to say that we averaged 4.65 out of 5 the last couple of years.
It's fantastic.
Even through COVID, we were up around 4.7. And I think it's changing the mindset of the employees to ask, how do I help you, instead of just being, and a lot of people have said it in the past, government is always the answer is no. And they don't tell us why. They just know, nope, you can't do it, and go on from there. I like to say that at the county, my hope is that we're saying, that may not work, but let me help you get to a path that can. And it's been really great. When I think about the different departments, our county clerk has done a masterful job, not only with working through the elections, but a couple years ago they changed state law that allows anyone to get like marriage certificates from any county, not just the county where you're going to get married within. They responded really well. Milwaukee has a lot more people, and they were bogged down. There were people taking time, waiting. Well, they suddenly realized that I could go out to Waukesha County and I can get the marriage license a lot faster than I can here.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, again, the response that we have, they're changing some of their hours to help out and be more attentive to the constituents. Register of Deeds have done the same thing. The nice thing about their deeds, they did a project, my gosh, it took almost 8+ years to take all of the documentation that we've had back to the 1800s when it comes to land titles and things and digitize it.
Wow.
So when you think about it now, and we joke, you buy a house, you go to your title insurance. Well, what typically happened is a title insurance company had a desk in the county, and they would go through all the documentation to see what's going on. Well, nobody's sitting at that desk anymore because they can go back to the office and they can hit one button and scan through everything that goes on.
That's great.
So providing those higher level of services has really made it more engaging to get to work with us. And I think that's one of the things I've truly enjoyed is changing that mindset and having us become much more collaborative and attentive to the citizens of Waukesha County. So I loved working on the wonkiness, but I will admit that as county executive, I love my job. I love the opportunity to work with the employees of the county and then be their ambassador out in the community, talking about the things that we can do, how we can work for them, and finding out if we're not doing things the way people want, how can we change to make sure we're responding effectively.
Gotcha. Would you ever go back to trying to be in the state senate or state representative, or do you love where you're at, that you're pretty comfortable here?
I like it here. As I say, the difference is if I go back there, I got to build consensus of 132, where here I'm the boss.
That's fair. That's real fair.
I have a county board that I work with, and I should be careful, but I have a county board. I have 25 wonderful supervisors that I have to work with. I can't just arbitrarily say we're going to do this, but I can work with them with the ideas that we come up with.
Right.
And I think that for me has been the greatest success is watching employees come up with new ideas or new innovative ways to either save money, save time, or bring a better efficiency to the constituencies in Waukesha County. And it's fun to see that success and see it in their eyes like, hey, we actually got this to work. And so it's been fun.
That's great.
Yeah. So then if you could do any other job, completely anything that your heart desires, what would be something that you'd want to do?
Professional volleyball player.
Oh.
I've always, I know, eh? Doesn't make much money. I guess when I look at what would I like to do, I've had a rather diverse background. My wife and I joke all the time. We're coming up on our 37th anniversary, August 1st. In 37 years of wonderful marriage, my wife's had like 4 different positions. I've had about 25. So I might have attention deficit disorder. We're not quite sure. The jury's still out, but yeah, I do. And so I have started a number of companies. One company that I worked with as an adjunct facilitator and developer for about 10 years was a company that did experience-based learning. So we were experiential education. We worked with schools. I worked with companies. It wasn't like sales promotion or motivation. It was conflict resolution. It was working to make changes within the organization. And then aside of that company, built ropes and challenge courses. So we built zip lines. We built, catwalks, climbing walls, all these different things. I really enjoy doing that. And my wife laughs about it because I am deathly afraid of ladders. Anything up to you go up a 2-story ladder, forget it. I'm done. But put me in a climbing harness, lock me into the devices that I have. I can hang upside down 75 feet off the ground and work on a
little system. Extra security helps so much.
I know that I'm in control of it, and this is what I'm going to do. And we always laugh because she just sees it when I go to clean the gutters. Yeah, I'm not going to happen. But if I could figure out how to put a harness on and strap it over the roof, I could climb up and down and have fun with it.
Yeah.
So I think if I really enjoyed that time of my life, it gave me so many different impacts. Physically working through what we were trying to do, mentally trying to develop the courses, make sure that they're safe, but they're also engaging, helping people overcome some of their personal fears. And then working with individuals with the conflict resolution and developing better teamwork was really, I enjoyed it a lot. I would love to go back to that one organization and work with them. That would be what I do.
Yeah, no, that's
Very cool.
Have you ever thought about like doing like those American Ninja Warrior type courses then?
No.
That's what it reminded me of.
There's a difference between athleticism and really good work ethic.
I thought they went hand in hand.
Yeah,
Right.
No, they could, but in some situations, I can climb and work. I can't do that. I watch those things in. Funny story, we had one of the Warriors, and this is before my wife retired. His name was Abel Gonzalez from Texas. And my wife got a connection with him, and I can't remember the process, but he came up here to talk to the kids at the Pewaukee School District about overcoming some of your own personal fears or issues. And he suffered from arthritis. Was one of the top 10, Ninja Warriors for a number of years, and has a training school down there that he still has. And we've kept in contact with him on and off. But it was so neat to see somebody else kind of what they've done to overcome their challenges in life and work through. And I will tell you, again, Abel was phenomenal. What he could do physically was amazing. There's a big difference between what he can do and me climbing up on a tree and hammering a couple of things. But it's always fun to watch how people overcome their own challenges and then can take those stories and help others realize that there's opportunity for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So kind of going, I have a feeling climbing up a ladder might be the answer, but what's the most adventurous thing you've done? And would you do it again?
Yeah, I'll say the most adventurous thing that I've done is part of that company. We built one of the first zip lines in Hawaii on Mount Haleakala. It's a dormant volcano right now. We built 6 zip lines that went over an old inactive lava flow. And the last line was just over, it's about a third of a mile long. And because of the elevation difference, we had to use a mechanical brake at the end of the ride instead of just a gravity brake. Well, we needed to test the speeds on the zip line. And usually we would throw a weighted, what we call our test dummy down to set it up. But because of the distance, we couldn't watch it the whole way.
Oh.
And so we needed a live test dummy to do it. That was me. And so I had a walkie-talkie that was on my shoulder strapped on so that my partners could hear the pulley, the sound of the pulley, so we could judge the speed. And I was calling out distances. And needless to say, I was coming in much faster than I anticipated. And there might have been, for the love of heaven, Wes, please stop me. And we were all laughing about it. But the craziest part is, once you get to the end of the zip line, then I had to drop a rope that was 200 feet long because I had to wait to see how far back out I went. So we knew what the gravity point in the drape of the cable was, where the weight would stop. And so that was about 100 feet off of where we wanted to be, where the landing point was. All this was being done over a lava flow that was about 100 feet below me. Remember, I'm the guy that doesn't like to step on a ladder. But hanging there, I'm like, hey, this is kind of neat. I ended up having to do that 3 times. And so we finally got it right, but to do it 3 times meant I had to walk halfway back up this mountain and then zip across 2 or 3 lines to get back to the point where I needed to go.
I'd imagine you're exhausted after all this just from the exhilaration.
Yes.
The
first one was crazy. The second 2, you got over it a little bit, but that was probably the most intense thing that I've ever done. And I do it again in a heartbeat.
So would you say that's kind of like the most unusual or like kind of interesting job you've ever had, or have you had anything kind of that would beat that?
No, I think that was probably the most unusual job that I've ever had.
Okay.
Other than that, I opened up a print shop, little things like started businesses. Prior to doing the political world that I'm in, I had a home inspection and radon mitigation companies that I was running. So I was a two-man operation for our radon mitigation, and then I partnered with a couple of people to do the inspections with me. So those are a little more boring than traveling down a zip line.
Yeah, that's fair.
But a little safer somehow.
This is true.
So if you could instantly become an expert in any skill or hobby, what would it be and why?
Woodworking. I think I am fascinated by individuals that can turn a bowl. You watch all the videos on Instagram and TikTok, and just to take a bunch of scrap wood and create just these incredible pieces, I would love to do it. And I know it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. I've got a couple of individuals that I know very well who are masterful at it. And watching them turn a small little bowl takes hours. Well, again, remember I had ADD, and so I don't know if I have the focus for it. But I think that would be the one skill set I'd love to have is to work in wood and create just some unique objects and things like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. One bad thing I think about myself is I look at that and I think I could do that. I don't need any training.
Yeah.
Give me the tools. I could do it.
I could do that.
I'm a half step back where I'm like, if I could find someone who would mentor me in it,
Yeah.
I'd watch that. I'd try and do it, and I'd probably, lose a quarter of a finger or something along the
Yeah,
way.
right, and that's the thing. I was you go into it. Well, it's like there's all these shows too about like making knives or swords and stuff like that, and I see that. Never done any metal work in my life, and I'm like, I've seen enough of those episodes.
I can do that.
I could do it.
It's just hammering this glowing piece of hot metal.
Yeah.
That can't be that hard.
Exactly.
I can put a 1,000-degree furnace in my garage and have nothing bad happen.
Well, there's some
Yeah.
people that do it. They use old satellite dishes and they just have giant coal forged in their backyard. I'm sure that's not violating anything in any way.
So are there any permits you need for that one?
That's what we always laugh about when you watch these shows on TV. It's like, hey, they're getting this done in 45 minutes. I could do this.
Yes. There's no cuts whatsoever.
No.
So I guess next, what is something about yourself that people might not know?
Wow, I'm kind of an open book. A lot of people, some people know it, some people don't. My family, I have four brothers. So there's a family of 5 boys in the Farrow clan: John, Bill, Peter, Paul, and Mark. And I am a twin. And so Peter and I are fraternal twins. As I always joke, I have brown eyes, he has blue eyes. I'm left-handed, he's right-handed. I'm nice. We'll leave it at that. But we're a neat, tight-knit family. I think that when I think about my 4 brothers, 4 of us live within about 20 minutes of each other. Peter, my twin, because of work, went up to Eau Claire. As we went through life, Mom was the big politician in the family. And so she started out in local governance in Elm Grove, where we lived, and then went to the state assembly. And we always kind of joked because as Mom would move up, one of us would move out of her current district, if it was the assembly district, and then she'd run for a new office and pull us back in. And kind of happened with me. I moved out to the town of Lisbon after we got married and bought our first house out there. And I jokingly said, "Oh, shucks, Mom, I can't vote for you anymore." Well, redistricting came in, and the Senate seat moved right out to me. And then in 2000, Mom was tabbed by Governor McCallum to become the new lieutenant governor. A year before, my twin brother moved up to Eau Claire and jokingly said, "Well, Mom, I can't vote for you anymore." And then she becomes lieutenant governor. And we just kind of laugh about it. It's like, no matter where we go in Wisconsin, Mom's always going to be over us.
That's fantastic.
And even though we lost her 2 years ago, I think that relationship that was created is still so solid. I see my brothers probably every couple of weeks, but we text almost daily between the 5 of us. And my dad lives right in the area too, so we're with him all the time. And so I think that's, for me, when I think about the strengths that I have, it's because of the strengths of that family unit that we still have engagement.
That's fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah. And if I recall right from trying to do the research before we're interviewing you, your mom was the first woman lieutenant governor for the state of Wisconsin as
Yes.
well. So
Yeah.
have a nice little bit of history in the family too.
She was an incredible woman. When you think about all the accomplishments and what she did, when we had to write the obituary, my brothers and I all looked at each other. Wow, we got a lot of work to do. But she really kind of told us, you can do whatever you want. And I have, like I said, 5 brothers. My oldest brother works for GE. He's been there for 42 plus years, I think it is.
Wow.
My second oldest brother has a PhD in mechanical engineering. He teaches down at MSOE. My twin brother worked, he just retired last year. He was the CEO of a healthcare cooperative. Myself followed in Mom's footsteps in politics. None of us thought we were going to, let alone me. And then my little brother's in IT. So we've all kind of gone in different areas, but we're still kind of tightly connected in what we do. And I think it's a credit to Mom and Dad. They gave us the ability to kind of test and try what we wanted to, and always encouraged us to keep looking, where do you want to go and where can you use your talents for the best, not just for yourself, but for others.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
So you wear a lot of hats as the county executive. So what do you do, or how do you unwind after a long day at work? Or do you unwind?
I was going to say, how do I unwind? Do I unwind is probably the better question. I will attest, my loving wife, again, she puts up with me a lot. She has been retired for about 2 years now as a school counselor. And so it's nice to get home. We try to kind of decompress and relax. My family's got a place up in northern Wisconsin that my mom's parents purchased way back in, I think, the 50s.
That's neat.
And so it's been in the family forever, so it's a great area for us to get away for a long weekend. The unconditional love of dogs is always helpful. I have a golden retriever that I purchased at a fundraiser for La Casa de Esperanza back in 2016. His official name is Waukesha, Shaw for short.
Love it.
People said, why the name? And I said, politician pandering for votes. Come on, you know how this works. And then Shotzi is our rescue that we got from a Tennessee rescue. And so the two of them, kind of wipes everything off the map when you walk in the door and they just come running down the hall, smiling and wagging their tail like, we don't care what your day was like, Dad, you're home, you're with us, we're going to be in good shape. And then being able to hang out with my sons and daughter-in-law, my grandson, and just having some good quality time there.
Love it.
That's great. So now, if you could time travel, would you go to the past or would you go to the future?
Good question. If I could time travel, I think I'd go in the past. There are historical times that I would love to find out. You get to read it, but I go back and again, I love this country, but the change that occurred when a country said, "Hey, we've had it with England," I would love to be able to sit in those conversations and listen to the arguments that people had. Should we do this? Shouldn't we do this? Why should we do this? And really see what their passion was. You get a good sense of it when we look at the Declaration, we look at the Constitution, you look at the Federalist Papers, there's a lot to see, but just being able to be there. And I think, when I look back at kind of the devastating issues that occurred when we look at 9/11, being able to watch that and now relay it to my kids who were 3 at the time, and give them a perspective, kind of a firsthand perspective would be interesting. I don't think I'd go into the future. I don't want to know what I messed up still. It's like, that's going to happen. I'm going to mess it up anyway. So, but I think going to the past to really kind of live through history would be a lot of fun.
And would you want to be engaged in that history, or would you want to be like more fly on the wall?
Fly on the wall.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to go back and say, hey, you know what you should do?
Well, no butterfly effect, of course, but kind of thinking more about the back in time is, if you could go back in time and tell your younger self some words of advice, what would you say?
Buy Apple stock.
No butterfly effect.
No butterfly effect in there. I think that the one thing I'd say, don't be afraid to try. For me, that was that's one of the issues, and my wife and I have talked about it. I will go back to high school. I love swimming. And I had the fortunate opportunity to go up north when my grandmother was still alive. And at 14, I had a restricted driver's license, so I could drive her to the store in town to get groceries and stuff. But we stayed up at the cabin because she wanted to stay in her home after my grandfather passed away. Mm-hmm. And so for 2 summers, I got to swim every single day in the lake.
Love it.
And I got really comfortable long-distance swimming. So I came down my sophomore year and tried out for the swim team at the high school, and I couldn't do the butterfly. I don't understand it. It's a silly stroke. It's not going to happen. Instead of asking for help, I just said, forget it. I'm not going to do it. Mm-hmm. And those are those kind of the little moments where you just say, if I would have asked for help, would the coach then have said, look, just try to get through the butterfly. I can see what you do with the long distance. When I came home, they would do warm-up laps, and I would get in there. I'd do my warm-up laps, and then the coach would come out and yell at me for not doing my warm-up laps. And I'm like, I'm already done. And he says, there's not enough time. You can't get everything that you were supposed to get done. So 3 days of this, the 4th day I came in and said, I'm going to start my laps. And he came out and watched me, and he's like, okay, you're doing it. So for me, it was so comfortable to swim those distances that I didn't have an issue with it. But I couldn't get over the butterfly. So I'm like, I'm done. That would be the big thing. Keep trying, keep learning to, and as I know today, failure is the best thing that can happen for you because it gives you the propellant to move forward.
Yeah.
If you just constantly succeed, you don't get the feedback of what you could do differently. Mm-hmm. And I think that was one of the things that helped me in my business and then in the political career was a book by John Maxwell called Failing Forward that just talks about that effect. And that was, I think, one of the things that helped change my mindset to allow myself to try and then learn from those mistakes.
Yeah, I've always heard that, like, failing faster is kind of the right mentality. Is if you're going to try it, you're going to fail it, but don't give up on that because you just failed. It's, figure out why you failed.
Fail fast and recover.
And then adapt, overcome. Butterflies are really hard. I've tried. I'm not a great swimmer, but I've tried like all the different ones you see on the Olympics. Like, plenty of people are going to be watching the Olympics here at the end of the month, and you watch the swimmers like, yeah, I could do that. No, I can't.
I don't know how they do it. I don't understand the process. I do it and I sink. Everything else I can do, backstroke, freestyle, breaststroke, all those, I can do that. But butterfly, no.
Yeah, I lack the coordination to swim effectively. Move your arms this way, try to breathe at the same time and kick your feet. It's just too many locations at once. So it's also why I can't drum. I can one or the other, but not both.
I am right there with you. I am so good at musical instruments that in 4th grade, I was in the percussion. We were working for the Memorial Day Parade in Elm Grove, and the conductor came up to me and said, Paul, you're doing such a good job. We want you to carry the flag.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
All right, I've got hopefully an easy softball question for you. I won't say there is a wrong answer to this, but we'll kind of let anyone else know. But what would you say is your favorite city in Waukesha County?
The asterisk comes out.
Yeah.
I will say that I love the city of Waukesha. I think when you look at the transformation that I would say has occurred over the last 10 years has been phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I am a kid who's grown up in Waukesha County my entire life. I remember not wanting to come to Waukesha because I don't know which way the one way is going. Mm-hmm. So it was a challenge. I remember going to Carroll. I was a Carroll grad in 91, so the early 90s. I learned how to come in, as I say, the back way, so I wouldn't have to go through downtown Waukesha. Mm-hmm. But over the last 10 years, there's been a transformation of the businesses and the mindset and the energy that has really created a community that engages people, wants to bring them down, wants them to have a great time. I look at the tragedy that we had with the Christmas parade, but then I looked at how the community came together. and how that energy continues in how we've got the monument down on Main Street. We've got the park being built right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you still have that energy of the community that's there.
Right.
And I think it's great. That would definitely be my number one. But I think there's close seconds when you, like I said, when you look at Oconomowoc, I think they're following the model of what Waukesha did, and they're building up their downtown. And they've got a lot of community engagement. Muskego and Mukwonago, Menominee Falls. I'm a Pewaukee person. The downtown village of Pewaukee has been growing out. So I think it's a lot of fun, a lot of opportunities. And I think each of them are creating their own individual character that people are starting to realize aren't that far to drive, but it's a different vibe in that community when I think of Delafield and what's happening there. So you get a taste of a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, too, people don't realize about those other cities there because it's usually like city, a bunch of farmland, and then you reach the next city. So it's like, oh, there is more out here. It's not just farm. I just got to get past the farms, all that field to find the next city.
What I was trying to do when I'm in a new area, like the first time when I started working here, I'm like, all right, I'm going to drive and get lost. That is my intention. Is I'm just going to drive, take random turns, see where I end up, and that's how I found the city of Wales. Didn't know it existed for the longest time, but now I've gone there a couple times for their disc golf course. They've got a fantastic athletic complex in that same area. It's off the beaten path because it's further west than Waukesha, and I think that's what a lot of people kind of don't always do is they don't try and go past the major cities, or it's if you don't see it off the highway, you don't go to it, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Dousman's another one, just kind of quiet little community that's tucked out there. It's got the bike trail through it. Just some great atmosphere and energy in the location.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
Is that a good political answer? I think
Yes,
you got a bunch of them in that
I think
one.
that was a good one.
Are there any towns we haven't mentioned? Brookfield might be on that list.
Brookfield's good. Oh, God, yeah. We better respond to Brookfield. Elm Grove I grew up in. I love Elm Grove. So
yeah. So what's your favorite part of being the county executive?
You know what? I think for me, the most fun is getting out into the community to the different events and talking with people and finding out the impact of the county or what can we do better. I really enjoy engaging in talking about what we're willing to do at the county and how we can help. Mm-hmm. And it's fun. I love getting out and talking with individuals, which everybody laughs because I'm truly an introvert. I don't get energy from talking. Mm-hmm. I expel energy, but I love doing it. Yeah. And I love being kind of that ambassador for the county of what we're doing and what we can do better.
Love it.
So do you kind of have like a memorable or kind of like a favorite moment from then working in Waukesha County or something, anything significant that had a significant impact on you like that?
I will. The one that I really kind of enjoyed, I am up for anything, and my staff knows it, and they kind of laugh. But I would say, I think it was 2017, 2018, Dousman has their Dousman Derby Days at the end of July, and they gave me the opportunity to sit in the dunk tank. Hey, come on, county exec, you want to sit in the dunk tank? We did a really good job. And I had a lot of fun. Some of the political people that I know were trying to dunk me. A couple did. And then this young man came up and proceeded to drop me like 10 times in a row.
Wow.
And I finally had to say, okay, what are you doing? What's going on? And his dad is laughing. He says, he's a pitcher for this little league team. He just basically threw a shutout, 2 days ago. He loves baseball. He has got pinpoint target accuracy. And I finally said, tell you what, I'm going to put $20 in if you're never allowed to pitch at this thing again. And we had some fun, but I think those are the neat things for me. It changes up that mindset. As people see elected officials, they're like, oh, we can't go talk to them. We can't, he's the county executive. Mm-hmm. If you're willing to set yourself up into a dunk tank, people realize that you're a person,
right? Yeah.
And that they can be approachable. And I think that's the one really positive for me is when someone comes up and says, I want to talk to you, and people have said you're very approachable. I've got a question. Mm-hmm. Then I'm doing my job the way I should.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of that interesting thing of people look at government, employees, voted officials, anything like that, and they're not human. Yeah, human's not the right word, but like it's not that we're robots, but we're not as humanized as kind of other service employees at the same time. It's you're the man, you're the government, you're just here to keep us little folk down. It's like, really, we are here to help you, and we want to help you, but yeah, it's those little humanizing things that you see with elected officials is always great, and it's like, yeah, I feel like we could go and have a cup of coffee after this, and you're being approachable, and
it's a challenge because we see the elected officials on TV, and you look at them and you kind of see them from a distance, and then you look at different levels of governance. They have the security entourage, or they have individuals, they have a driver, or they do this. And then you see me drive up in my car and get out, and I don't have anybody else with me. And that's just, for me, it's the way it's always been. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what Mom taught me, especially when I came into public office. You're a steward for the people, and you're beholden to the people for your job. I mean, my job interview is every 4 years if I get reelected. But in order to do my job effectively, I have to know what they are thinking. Mm-hmm. And the only way I can do that is to engage with them.
Right.
So I guess, who has been the biggest mentor influence in your career?
I would say, again, you kind of hear it. For me, the biggest influencer has been my mom, especially when I got into politics. And the story that I kind of start with, when I got elected and was sworn in 2011, I am in the assembly chambers that Mom served in 1987 when she came in. And there were people in the building that were there when Mom was still there. Mm-hmm. And so they're, hey, Lieutenant Governor Farrow, it's great to see you. It's going to be nice to have a Farrow back in the building, yada, yada, yada. And I go into my office, and it was just my mom and I looked at her, I said, what did I get myself into? Mm-hmm. I said, I can't do this job. I'm looking at you and what you've done and all this. And she kind of laughed and said, look, just be yourself. Everybody starts somewhere. And you've got to learn that you're going to take your steps and you're going to get a couple of hits here and there. But do what you do best. Talk to people, work with people, engage. And you're going to do fine. And she had that calming effect, and was kind of like the mom, but it was also someone who lived what I'm about to live. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was always great. Before I would kind of get anything going, I'm like, hey, Mom, can I just get some advice? And as parents are, my parents would never tell us what to do. They'd always ask more questions, which frustrated the heck about the boys. But one thing I said, I really got this idea about creating some apprenticeship programs. And she's like, oh, you know what you should do? You should go back and look for a report called the Save Commission Report or the Kettle Commission Report. And these are like Blue Ribbon Task Force that the Governor Thompson at the time had put together. So I go to the archives, I find these things, and I'm like, this is really cool. And I'm reading through it. And they were done back in 93 and in 2000. And I finally say, how did you know about these things? And she goes, well, did you look at the second page? The committees. Mom was vice chair of both of those committees. Yeah. And so she knew what I was looking for, could have just said, this is what you want, but said, here's what I think you should do. Go look at these reports, think about this, and then come back if you've got questions. And so that is one I've had along the way. Congressman Fitzgerald, who at the time was Senator Fitzgerald, was the majority leader when I came into the Senate, always gave me great advice. But if I looked at that kind of that one mentor, for politics, it was Mom. For life, it was Dad, because Dad always asked the more questions. You'd come in and say, hey, Dad, what do you think of this? Well, what if you did this, this, and this? And you're like, no, Dad, I just want an answer. But he helped us open our mind to looking at different perspectives and really trying to embrace all the information before we engaged.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I love it. That's true mentorship, I think, too. Especially with your anecdote from your mom. It's like she knew all the answers. It's just you're going to find the answers. Make sure you do your research, and that's really, I think that's what we expect as residents of politicians is do your research, do a little digging. It may not be the easiest digging, but do your digging and then come upon the answer that's best for your constituents. I think we'll wrap it up with this final question of what was the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
It's going to go back. See, it's a parent thing. So when I came into office, my dad gave me a sign. He said, "Hey, if there's one thing that you remember, this is what you want to remember." And on this little plaque, it says, and I could try to think about the exact wording on it. Always stand for the right thing, even if you're standing alone. Mm-hmm. And as they taught me, we have a set of principles, a moral fiber that we were raised with, that we understand. My faith is strong in that as well. Mm-hmm. And so this is how I guide myself. While I do that, I can be flexible to figure out how to work with others. But this is the compass that really directs what I'm going to do. And there are times when I think back and different things that we've done, when I've done in political career, I've challenged leadership. I've challenged status quo. We did a lot of things differently in Waukesha County, especially when it came to the response to COVID, because I stood by the principles of I want to do what's right for everybody, not just what's most expedient. Mm-hmm. And that has always served me well. That one, as long as I'm standing on my principles. And then the other side of it is just be honest. Stand by the truth, and you'll never mess yourself up, because if you're always being truthful, you'll say the same thing 100 times, and it's always the truth. Mm-hmm. If you start fabricating, it gets tweaked, and it gets tweaked along the line to the point where it might not be anything that you originally stated. And so those are probably my two guiding principles. Just speak the truth and always stand by your principles.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect place to end it then, too.
All right.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being on Talking Waukesha with us. And, thank you for being the county executive and keeping this county to be such a wonderful place.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And that's a wrap for another episode of Talkin' Waukesha. We hope you enjoyed diving into the heart of our city with us.
If you have a story to share or just want to say hello, reach out to us on social media at City of Waukesha on Facebook. We love hearing from our listeners.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review if you enjoyed the conversation. It really helps us spread the word.
As always, thanks for tuning in to Talkin' Waukesha, where every conversation springs to life.